Porky, son. Get in here then. Put the mic down. Put the mic down. Look in these eyes. Look in these eyes.
Hello all you hardcore boxing fans out there, how are you doing? It's the weekly weigh-in with Gary. We're now in Algorfa, Spain. Gary's just jumped on scales. How are you doing, Gary, first of all?
Alright, pal, good.
What do you weigh?
16.4.6.
Well, I were 12.4, and as you know, I've just done 29 hours with no water, no food, and I'm 11. So it can be done, can't it? You know, if you shut your body down like that.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you're...
Kind of for you.
Yeah, if you're in restaurants, Gary, you're wolfing omelets down in front of me. Do you want half of this pork?
I'm surprised I'm 16.4 point whatever to understand.
After you've had what you had yesterday.
Yeah, but couldn't really get out of that. Really could have.
No. Yeah, you had lunch with that Scottish lady, didn't you? From who lives over here. John from Droylsden, one of the big hitters on the scene. How you doing, John?
Yeah, fine.
Alright.
Yeah.
What do you think to it?
Well, I watched you yesterday and I was impressed what you done. You know, going 29 hours fasting. Yeah. I seen you walk out the restaurant when I was scoffing out.
Well, it's hard work with
chili
eating,
con carne there, and Gaz was on his own lip, and I thought that car was going to get a good bashing when you walked out.
But I never realised that I was teasing you that much. Cause I thought that was healthy what I had. A little mustard with a bit of salad.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't want to go over 12 stone.
No, but what was you, nearly 12 and a half yesterday?
12.4.
12.4. You said to us, if I just do this now, I'll be less than 12 stone, didn't you?
Yeah, because I know I'm...
So what I don't understand though is how does £4 come off like that? Because I know that 3,500 calories is £1.
Yeah.
So therefore, from yesterday to this morning, you've not gone like 14,000 calories less than you would have normally put in your body, have you?
No, I've took 7.5 pounds off in 29 hours, but I ain't eaten.
But in theory, that's over 20,000 calories, isn't it?
Yeah, but I ain't eaten, I ain't drunk. I went for a bit of a walk as well, so, and I don't know, I'm just lucky, I guess. But George Groves took £10 off in 24 hours before he went to bed 12 stone 10, night before he got weighed against Froch, and he would bang on scales the night before on the first fight. So you can do it.
So he come from 12.10 to what?
12.10 down to 12.
Overnight?
Yeah, I think he never ate no for about 24, 28 hours. I know a lot of boxers that have done that. It's easy to do. It's only water you're losing, isn't it? Really, you're just starving yourself, aren't you? Yeah. But I've just got weighed now, and I'm bang on 12 stone. But I've had 2 cups of tea and some water on since I got. So you're just putting water back in your body, aren't you?
But how are you feeling now?
Feel alright. Yeah, I don't feel hungry. I feel alright.
What do you think of that theory that I just come up with before? You know, and people going on, oh, go this, that, and the other, I'm starving myself and fasting. But what do you think about the theory is your body is actually in heaven?
Well, do you know, like Kerry Kayes?
When it has to go to your fat stores.
You know, when Kerry Kayes explained it to you about
the little trick,
years ago, he explained that to you, didn't about the metabolism.
I'm going to do it.
Oh.
I'm going to do it because I think it's...
He's going to do a Kerry Kayes scenario.
I'm going to do it, yeah. I'm going to do it because...
And this is a good scenario because everybody shouldn't worry if they don't lose as much as other people because everybody's different, aren't they, really? I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the scenario. And I mean, I know Kerry because he used to train at his gym, Better Bodies. And he used to do loads of talks, and I know Julian knows him. But he'll do a little trick, you know. And he'll right, look. The reality is, and that's probably the wrong last foot, there's 4 different metabolisms, yeah? Some people can metabolise that in a single meal and get away with it. Some that, but some of us, fat guys, yeah, can only metabolise that in a single meal. So if you eat more than that, it's going to go to your fat stores.
Yeah.
And that is a simple fact of it. And Kerry Kayes and his teachings are what, you know, I mean, I used to go to Kerry Kayes' gym when he was in with Dorian Yates. I don't know if you know Dorian Yates, but he was the world champion, wasn't he? bodybuilder, and he was partners with him. You know, and I read Dorian Yates' book, and it's all about what you can metabolise. So, you know, that's that little trick, like a little juggling act, isn't it? But the reality is, you know, this starvation that we're talking about, you know, I know, that if we're starving ourselves all day, we're eating even less than that.
Yeah, but some people can like eat like a big meal and they can, you know, like Viv, like your neighbour.
Yeah, because she's the pint pot girl, isn't she?
Yeah, she can eat all day long and she's 7 stone wet through.
I noticed Johnny today in the bar. You know, he thought it was going in more than mine, and I'm thinking, John could eat on the quiet, can't he? Like comes over as though he doesn't eat. I mean, I remember you 10 years ago, John, and I was still fat then, still struggling with weight, but you were very disciplined even then along Russ's lines.
Yeah, I was more into my fitness then as well, so I was watching both, where I knew I had to eat well to improve my fitness.
Yeah.
You can't eat bad and improve
and
your fitness.
He was a better runner than me.
Yeah.
But
that was a lot of that was down to weight.
Even then, you know, the guy who used to run with, you know, to encourage me, he used to say, "Guys, you might be last, but you remember this. He's running round at 10 stone. You've just done the same circuit at 20 stone. You pulled 20 stone round. And you might be a few minutes behind them, but you know what I mean. I've actually worked a lot harder than a lot of them runners."
Of course you did. I remember you doing the Southport 10k and you wasn't last.
No.
You know, you just come in over an hour.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic achievement, guys.
You know, if you're 20 stone, right, and you want to be 15 stone, and you think I'm healthy at 15, and you do your gym workout, circuits or running or walking, well, try it with a 5 stone weight on your back, because that's what you're carrying extra, innit? And so your heart's working a third as much more, innit? You know, your organs and that. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, but I would do that like John saying, I do the Southport 10k. But it's only natural to me. I don't feel or know any different, do it? Because I'm running around with 20 stone now. I don't know how it feels. I know some people put a fucking car jack in the rucksack to do that. But do I really need to do that if I'm already 20 stone? I could get a light guy wanting to test out, you know, say you wanted to run around with me and you put a car jack in your rucksack, you're running around with me, I bet you'd feel it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not feeling it, am I? Because I'm not 20 stone thankfully, I'm 16.4.6 this morning.
So,
are you sure you don't want me to get them scales, Russ? I like getting on the scales.
You want to go get the scales? Go get them and we'll get it officially.
So we're going to go for a walk after, 4 mile walk.
We're going into the village, we are.
Yeah, we're going to rip it up, aren't we, with a walk, 7 AM.
And then, what are you going to eat today, Russ?
I'll have a slice of toast. I'll do me a fried egg and splash out.
And we eat again tonight?
See, it's hard here, because I come here yesterday, yeah, Russ, an expense card, eat and drink what you want. And I'm like, give that to John, because I'm overweight. But it is what it is, isn't it? But yeah, I'll probably just have that and might have a few beers with you later. I'm saving myself for Fury versus Chisora fight.
Oh yeah. Yeah, can't wait for that one.
I know. Yeah. What round is he going to take Chisora out?
He's going to pick his round for me. I think he'd take.
Could you imagine if Tyson took him out in 1 round, there'd be an outcry, wouldn't there?
Yeah, take him out in 4 or 5 round.
There we are, Gary getting on the scales. Well then. But I'm going to film Heroes of the Month today. You'll all like that. Heroes of the Month. I've gone from helmets at month. Porky, please don't leave YouTube. Please put Eddie Hearn #1. The person who keeps sending text messages to put Eddie #1. We don't do helmets no more. I've had 5 years of helmets of the month. It's done me head in. Too many people like that. Ah! Too many people crying about being in helmets. They can't take it on chin like Peter Fury or Dennis or people like that. Too many people whine about it. Whiners. This is what we've got in the sport of boxing. Complainers and whiners. But I'll be back with a few other videos next week. You ready, Gaza?
Yeah.
I'm going to just turn it round.
I'm not taking my t-shirt off today, Russ.
Go on then.
Got too much stick for that last week. But I'll get on. I'm leaving my t-shirt on, so we can knock an ounce or two off for this season.
We'll knock a pound off for your t-shirt and your briefs, yeah?
Okay.
Should be 11.6 now. I've had a coffee. Let's have a look. Oh, sorry, 16.6. 16.6.
That's 16.5. Come in.
16.5, isn't it?
Remember, it was 16.4.6. I said.
Alright, 16.5 then.
So you're going to knock a pound off, so
Yeah.
16.4.
Go on then, 16, go on then.
Sorry, let me get it again, John.
You're getting closer to 16, Clem, Gary. Have you anything you want to say or add in last minute, Gary?
I just want to get back on these scales again.
Go on then.
Because now somebody with some eyes is here.
Right.
What are we on, John?
16.5.
16.5.
16.5, so 16.
16.4.6 upstairs, but don't forget, I didn't have this on.
Go on then. So, now it's changed in an
I've lost
hour.
a bit there, haven't I?
You what?
I've lost a bit from last week, haven't I?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I started at 16.9, didn't I? So I'm at,
Yeah.
what, we're 3 weeks in and I'm 16.5, so I'm 6, 7, 8. It's £4, innit?
Right.
But I've been away, haven't I, for 2 or 3 weeks as well. It's been hard.
Yeah. Alright then. Well listen, well done, Gary. Keep up the challenge.
Sorry. Yeah, I will.
Alright mate.
No worries.
That's about it. Big shout out to Welcome Estates, Spartan Demolition. If you want a property, and I'm going to look at some gorgeous ones today, get in touch with Welcome Estates. They've got a winter sale on. Peace out.
Hello and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. The World Darts Championship 2023 is just a few days away. We're not going to go through every game in this video. We've already reacted to the draw. It was about an hour long. But the good news is we've got a playlist where we're going to preview every single player taking part. There's 96 of them. There's currently 52 on the list. Pieman's going to do a load more tomorrow. So on this video, we're just here to pick out the best bets available. And we've got a pretty good record, actually, Pieman. We did all right on the last time on the Grand Slam. We put some round one winners up. So we're going to look at round one matches, potential round two matches, quarter betting, any specials, and then obviously outright who we think will win. We'll be sharing the screen plenty throughout. The good news for all the viewers, particularly the female subscribers to Doubles and Trebles, is that my camera isn't working today, so you can only hear me and not see me. You can see Pieman, of course, in the bottom corner there, giving you all a wave. So yeah, Pieman, before we get stuck into it, just give me your general feeling. How you feeling? We've built up to this for all year long. We're now only days away.
Very excited. I need something to pick me up after England's elimination from the World Cup, and this will do the trick really nicely. You know, any regular viewers of the channel will know how much we look forward to the World Championship. Everything we look at is with a view and an angle to the World Championship, and here it is. I hope in the year of, you know, real commitment that we've given to the darts season in terms of watching every Players' Championship, every Pro Tour, every Euro Tour, is going to come good here, because there's just so many markets on offer compared to a normal tournament. And, you know, on that note, you need to keep a keen eye on our Twitter feed and the YouTube channel throughout the tournament, because whenever we spot a value bet in one of these specials markets, it'll be going up on our Twitter, it'll be going out on YouTube. So definitely get subscribed if you're not already. Definitely get following the Twitter at @doublestrebles_. And yeah, I can't wait to get stuck in. I've pulled out some round one selections, which I think we're going to run through together, our round one thoughts. We're going to have a quick look at the quarters, a specials glance, and then a quick run at the outright as well. So let's get into it.
And we've not got any comparison. We don't know anyone's notes at the moment, Pieman. So we could vastly disagree, or we could agree on a lot of things. So yeah, starting with the round one matches. These are the 64 players who are not ranked, and the 32 ranked players join in round two. So these guys that we're going to speak about now all know their fate, who they will be playing in the next round should they win their first round game. I'm going to go first, Pieman here.
Yeah.
Bo Greaves. He's 2-1 to beat Willie O'Connor.
Let's just start by saying that he's on my list.
Excellent. So Willie O'Connor is solid. He's one of the most solid players that's in this first round.
Mm-hmm.
But the crowd are going to be bang with Greaves, and she can average easily 93-ish if she wants to. And I can see that 2-1 that you can see on screen there, Pieman. I can see that going a lot shorter on the day. And given she's on your list, I'm guessing you're going to tell me about what she's been up to this weekend in some non-PDC tournament.
Well, I could tell you that, but I wasn't actually going to tell you that. I was just going to tell you exactly what you've just said. I don't take on Willie O'Connor lightly. He's got a very solid Ali Pali record, first Euro Tour final this year. He's not a man to be underestimated. But what we know about Bo Greaves is her average range on the women's series is so varied, as you say. It's very hard to gauge what's going to turn up. But what I did find when I had a little delve on the statistics is that her average in a close game, or a game where she's behind or on throw, is significantly higher than a game where she just cruised to, you know, as she does frequently on the women's series in the early rounds, 4-0, 5-0 wins, where she's not having to get out of first gear. You know, some of them games she's averaging 70-something, 80-something, but there's almost a disinterest there. And you can understand it, such as the golfing quality, whereas, you know, here, I'm expected to see top-level Bo Greaves. I'm expected to see a crowd, as you say, very partisan in her favour. And I think you just got a chance to 2-1. I think, you know, she's probably more a 6-4 chance.
Yeah, I think she'll go offshore to Pieman. I really do. Well, we've started with some agreement there. For my next one, I'm going to Germany, and I'm going to be back in Florian Hempel at 10-11. A bit shorter. Was good here last year, causing an upset. Beat Dimitri here last year at Ali Pali. I'm hoping he can produce similar again this year, but I'll be honest, he's done bugger all since Ali Pali last year. He has had some time away from the board, I believe. Similar comments could be applied to Keegan Brown, who was on the verge of retirement. Both of them need to win this game specifically, and possibly another game at this tournament, because they're both in danger of missing out on their tour card. They're ranked around 60-ish in the order of merit. But I'm with Florian Hempel at 10 to 11, and he will be in Ackers.
Yeah, fair enough. He's not one on my list, but I mean, Florian's someone we benefited from well on the channel last year. If he produces the same level he produced at Ali Pali last year, he has a real chance of beating Keegan Brown. And of course, he had to come through that German championship to get his spot, which was a really strong field. So comes here full of confidence. And yeah, Brown, other than his Players' Championship win, which really did come out of the blue, not a lot to write home about. I'll take you for your next tip, and it is in the opening game of the tournament. I had one in the opening game of the tournament last year. You might remember standing Peter Hudson very nearly got us over the line with a massive winner. He completely blew it in the last set. But I've got another big price selection for you in this opening game. Ben Robb to beat Mickey Mansell with the most 180s, 7-2. General price, that Sky, Boyles, etc., all offering it. I really like the big Kiwi, Ben Robb. He's been to Ali Pali twice before, beaten twice, but he held his own well last year against Rusty Jake Rodriguez in a really good first round game. Lost 3-1 in sets. Rusty Jake averaging in the mid-90s to get over the line there. And they were tight sets, all four of them as well. So he's amassed some good PDC experience there. He's also took part in the World Series over in Australia, New Zealand. He's been in the World Cup this year. He's a rhythmical, very strong, fluid thrower who I could see upsetting Mansell in the tournament's opener. Mansell obviously has a bit of a back catalogue of occasionally producing like outrageous averages, but in recent times he's been very much a steady Eddie. He's not had a great year. I'm more than happy to take him on. And Rob looked like a really solid 180 hitter, what I've seen of him. So yeah, I'm happy to double it up there for a 7-2 chance. Ben Robb and most 180, 7-2.
Right, that'll be going on the list, Pie Man. Winner of that to play reigning champion Peter Wright, as you can see on screen there. I'm going to most likely take your limelight here, Pie Man. It is a Acker-based selection. He is 8 to 11. But as you can see, I'm typing in, Mike De Decker will beat Jeff Smith at 8 to 11. Yes, it's odds on, but it's not short enough, in my opinion. Decker's on the up.
Yeah, I think he is on the up. Yeah, definitely Mike De Decker. The real deal is someone very much on my radar. Who's very unlucky to miss out on the Grand Slam of Darts. Some really good floor form in the back end of the year, and he's a serial 180 hitter. I could see the angle for the 8 to 11, no doubt. I found a Sky Bet special on that game that really stood out to me that might be fun to play at small stakes. 2 180s in each completed set in this game. Now, if you're of the opinion that De Decker's going to make fairly light work of Jeff Smith, and he's going to do so with his usual frequent 180 hitting, the 9-2, about 2 180s in each set, is very interesting because I think De Decker is one of these players, a little bit like Dimitri and Eddie Lewis, where once he gets in a flow with the 180s, they can just keep coming and coming and coming. And Jeff Smith also quite handy for a 180 versus your average floor player. So basically, if it's a 3-0, then we just need a couple of maxes in each of the sets. I like it because De Decker in the actual 180 betting is 2 to 9. That's no interest to me. But 9-2 for a unit stake, I think you could get a good run from that. And yes, I would expect De Decker to progress.
I like it, yeah. That's a really quite specific betting market there, Pieman.
Oh, it is, but you've got to have a drill down into these markets. That's just to give you a little bit of a flavour of what is out there, and versus like a normal tournament. You know, if you go onto Sky Bet, you're going to find over 200 different potential bets on each game. Now, a lot of these are data driven, but if you have the angle of, you know, knowing darts inside out and knowing the little quirks, then you may well find yourself an angle there. So if you can find the time, make sure you have a good look the day before on them markets to see what you can mop up. I notice a few prices have already sort of been snaffled in certain areas. I'll give you another one on my side before handing back to you. On the Friday, the second day of the tournament, I'm going to play a Trixie on the 3-0s, and I'm looking forward to playing it as well, let me tell you. You know, each year I like to look at these 3-0 markets for, you know, the mismatches. And I think on Friday there are 3 that I can get right behind, and it'll be a really good fun acca for anyone watching the darts on the Friday. First selection would be Alan Suter to beat Australian qualifier Mal Cumming 3-0, 11-8. Suter, a form player. The Scotsman had a really good run at the Grand Slam. He's been really good on the floor in the last few months. I think he can make light work of Mal Cumming. previously Suter's games at Ali Pali have been a battle, but I think he's maybe just got that extra little bit of experience on the Ali Pali stage now. I'm expecting him to make light work of the Aussie. Boris Kirchner plays Toru Suzuki. I think if Boris turns up like we know he can play, or even sort of 60, 70% of that, he'll have too much for Toru, who, looking at his averages in qualification, and nothing to shout home about, he's not one of the international players that I am sort of taking with too much respect. I've been wrong in that area before. You may remember Edward Shinji Folks, who we all thought was going to be an absolute dud, and then turned up and won 3-0 in his first round game, playing some sensational stuff. So you never know fully what to expect with these qualifiers. But Boris against Toru Suzuki, I'm finding a lot of high 70s averages for Toru when I have a dig around the Asian Championship. So I'm happy to take him on there. And then finally, Adi Lewis to beat Daniel Larsson 3-0, 9-5. That would be the nap. That would be the nap of the three. Daniel Larsson, journeyman, always qualifies via the sort of Nordic and Baltic region.
Always goes out round one.
Very steady player. If he gets drawn against one of the poorer qualifiers, he may nick a set. Against an Adi Lewis in a partisan crowd, I see Adi making light work of him. And I think 9-5 as a single even is a really interesting bet. But best price, you can roll them up into a Trixie. 16-1 it pays if all three cop. And that'll be a good bit of Friday entertainment for you there.
Love it, Pie Man. I've not got any more specific selections in round one, but when the handicap markets do go up, they've not quite fed through to Oddschecker yet. I've not had time like you to go through individual suppliers directly. I'll be looking out that handicap for someone on the plus 2.5 sets market. So basically,
so it's a winner set.
All pretty big underdogs who are fancy can nick a set against a much more fancied opponent. And the names of those are Paolo Nibreda versus Danny Janssen.
Yeah.
Janssen is 1-3 in that match. Since he won the Players' Championship event, didn't he, or made the final?
He did.
I think he won one months back, and he's done bugger all since. So I think Paolo can nick a set in there. Jose Justicia, I think he can nick a set against Josh Rock. I mean, Rock could obviously rock up an average 104 like he did in the World Youth Final and win 3-0. But Justicia, no fear. And relative to Josh Rock, has got bags and bags of experience. He's been to Ali Pali a few times. He's played in the World Cup.
Certainly
Josh Rock is 1-10 on debut. That's very short. But that one might be the one that gets away out of these three. And the final one, Christian Perez, who played in the Grand Slam, the PDC Asian champion, against Simon Whitlock, a big outsider in the match betting. But he's better. He's better than the form of 0-3 at the Grand Slam suggests. He actually had a match start against Danny Noppert in his first game in the Grand Slam, missed that. I think he can nick a set. His scoring was okay in the Grand Slam, Mr. Perez, but his finishing wasn't. That'll need to improve for this. But yeah, I'll be playing those three, similar to you, Pie Man, Trixie, Territory. Hopefully, they can possibly nick a set. Have you got any more round oneers?
Well, while you're on that topic, I've got another one that I think can nick a set, and it's Yamamoto, the Japanese qualifier against Martin Lukeman. Even money for this game to go over 3 sets. That's something that I would definitely play. Won the Japanese Championship, Yamamoto. Beat some good players on the way to doing that, including Seigo Asada, somebody who we've seen many times over on the PDC tour. And I think he may be proved to be one of the above-average qualifiers. Having a little dig into the stats, in some of his games there, he was averaging around 90, albeit over 5 legs, but clearly has a little bit of an above-average A game compared to, your average qualifier. Whereas Lukeman, a potentially vulnerable PDC seed, I expect him to get through, but when he made his TV debut a little bit earlier in the year, you'll remember, he played James Wade, and unfortunately, it was not the same Martin Lukeman that we've seen on the floor and on the Euro Tour. It seemed to be a bit too much for him. He's a heavy favourite to win here, and I could just see Yamamoto, turning up, playing quite freely, and giving him a little bit to think about. So I would add him to your list of players who could potentially nick a set. I have got some other angles that I'll just whiz through. 3 of them are outright picks to win their matches, but first a couple more sort of side markets. Luke Woodhouse to win 3-0 against our friend, the Ukrainian qualifier Omolchenko. This has not gone missed among the Shrewdies. It's already been smashed up. As we speak now, there is still 4-6 about this 3-0 win. It won't be there. I don't even think it'll be there tomorrow. It should be about 3s on, in my opinion. Omelchenko's averages are in the 60s and 70s. Luke Woodhouse should have absolutely no issues here. So fill your boots if you like a big single there. That would be my suggestion. One game that I'm playing the correct scores. I'm going to play 3-2 either way. And it's Cam Menzies versus Diego Portella.
I looked at this game.
Cam Menzies has been backed really, really heavily. Understandable. His recent form is really good. He got a very notable win over Josh Rock at the Players' Championship finals, which has obviously attracted, not gone unnoticed because he's been really heavily backed for this game. Let me tell you something about Diego Portella. He always qualifies via the South American route, and that's because there ain't many South Americans trying to qualify. So he's virtually a nailed-on qualifier. It's very rare he goes beyond round 1, and if he does, it's generally round 2. However, I don't think Diego is getting the respect he deserves in this market. I look back at the last 5 years, and he has averaged between 90 and 93 every single time. It is set your watch to it kind of form. If he does the same again here, Cam Menzies' seasonal average is 92. So I can't have Cam Menzies as short as what he is. You know, on all evidence that we've seen, that Diogo is going to rock up and average low 90s here and make a little bit of a game of it. So I thought to go the full 5 sets was interesting, but I do think there's a decent chance that Portella could even nick it 3-2 if Menzies goes to pot, and he does have that in him. He's a real, you know, it's all in his head with Cam Menzies. If he fancies it, great. If he doesn't, he goes to pot. So I think if you play the 3-2 either way, 9-1 for Portella to win 3-2, 9-2 for Menzies to win 3-2, you know, and balance it however you like. But I really do think that this game is going to go deeper than the market suggests. So that's my angle in for that one. And then just finally on the round 1 selections, 3 players that I think can win their games, just a straight win bet. Danny Baggish to beat Matt Campbell 7-4. It's a price play. I like Matt Campbell. I like Danny Baggish. The angle here with Danny Baggish is he's had a year of quiet progress on the floor. Although his card is in significant danger, he's had some much better performances on the Pro Tour, quite frequently reaching last 32 and last 16. And crucially, he has really good Ali Pali experience when he beat Damon Heta and Adrian Lewis. So we know that he handles the crowd. He didn't qualify last year to follow up that. So this is his first return since that run. We know, having spoken to Danny on the channel, that he loves the big occasion. He's a showman. And he plays a fellow North American here in Matt Campbell, who will have played a lot before they both came over to try their hand at the PDC. So I'm expecting a close contest there. I think 7-4 is interesting. Obviously, Matt Campbell, talented player. You don't want to be going crazy on that. My final 2 selections are both on the first Monday of the tournament. So getting towards Christmas, what are we on, 21st there, 19th, I think. Yeah. So first one is David Cameron to beat Richie Edhouse 6-4. I think that's a more than fair price for the Canadian. He was a surprise qualifier for the World Seniors Masters, which ran a few months ago, and went on to win the tournament. He beat Kevin Painter, Robert Thornton, Richie Howson and Phil Taylor on the way. All of his averages were sort of low 90s. So I think he's a live chance against Ed House, who is not somebody I would be going crazy on. I mean, he's a steady player, and he has got 180s in the locker, Richie Ed House, but I'm more than happy to take him on the Ali Pali stage with David Cameron here, the older man. Final single selection is Louis Williams to beat Nils Zonneveld at 8-5. I just find Zonneveld an extremely inconsistent performer, especially on the big stage. He's got a lot of potential, but he very rarely gets beyond the first or second round of tournaments. Whereas I think the young Welshman, Louis Williams, we've seen previously, while he's had an inconsistent year on the floor, sometimes these big tournaments bring the best out of him. And I'm expecting him to raise his game here and have too much for Zonneveld at 8-5. I think he's a really fair price there.
Well, all sorts of selections there. They'll all be in the description. I've been noting them down as Pieman speaks. Couple of things to pick out there, Pieman, because a lot of these I've done the player profile videos on. There's so many players in this tournament over 50 years of age. I know you mentioned Cameron there. Whitlock, got to mention the champ, Merv King. There's loads. There's so many veterans in this tournament. There really is. And also, you mentioned the first ever Ukrainian participant in the World Championships, Vladislav Omelchenko. Of the 52 player profile videos currently up on the channel, Vladislav is the second most popular, behind only Pieman's favourite, Gary Anderson, believe it or not. So, yeah, plenty of
the people have got
Ukrainians.
good taste.
Welcome to all the Ukrainian darts fans tuning into Doubles and Trebles. Thank you very much. This is going to be a little short segue, Pieman, here. Potential round 2 matches. Now, as you can see on the right-hand side, Ricky Evans or Fallon Sherrick are going to play Joe Cullen. We've not got prices yet because we don't know who's won the first game. So I'm just going to highlight some prices or some games that I'm going to be interested in and will be playing depending on the price. For example, I think Whitlock, who is a first-round player, all the first-round players are going to be mentioned first. So Whitlock could play Jose in round 2. I'll be interested in Whitlock's price there on rankings, and the fact that these are they're coming through the first round, they're likely to be outsiders in the second round. I'll be interested in Whitlock's price there. AD Lewis against Heta. Now Lewis in the first round plays Daniel Larson, as you mentioned, should get through. Heta has struggled on the big stage. I'll be interested in the prices there. Keane Barry, I think there'll be more to come on him later. Keane Barry, I think he can beat Kim Hybrex on a going day. A fella that I thought you would mention, Pieman, but you didn't. Rodriguez, Rowby John Rodriguez. I think he can give Vandenberg. He's 3 to 10 on there, as you can see. I think he can give Vandenberg a game in round 2. Well, you've mentioned Danny Baggish. I actually like Matt Campbell against Mervyn King. Should he get that far? I think Campbell's on.
Fair enough.
But I do see your price play with Baggish. The experience 7 to 4 probably is too big. Basically, the winner, either of them can give Mervyn King a game.
I agree. Yeah.
But the Nap, obviously, I don't know the prices yet. I've already mentioned him. Mike De Decker will win his first round game and will play Mensur Sulovic. He should be the outsider, really, given the rankings. But as you know, we follow it closely. Mike De Decker is on the up. So they're the ones I'll be looking at for potential round 2. And that's where you should be following us on Twitter to get those prices should they become available.
Certainly. I'll add a couple to that mix as well. I think whoever wins out of Jim Williams and Sebastian Bielecki is going to give James Wade a real game. I think that is an awful first game for James Wade. Not saying he won't come through it, but by God, Jim Williams, a Pro Tour winner, and Bielecki, for my money, one of the finest young talents coming through in the world of darts. I think we're going to hear a lot more about him. Only turned 19 this week, so he's got time on his side there. I agree with a lot of what you mentioned there, and obviously as the tournament progresses, we'll be sure to highlight them on the channel.
Yeah, right. So we're going to plough straight in to quarter 1, Pieman, which is on the right hand side there. That's the draw there, and your prices are there on the left. Obviously, the headline acting here is going price 13 to 8. You don't need me to go through every game. You can see how it's going to play out. Barney versus Price potentially in round 3 could be a blockbuster. The betting here for me is Danny Noppert at 5 to 1. I just think he has got a straightforward mini section. The bottom half of that section, to me, looks reasonably straightforward for Danny Noppert. The other seeds in that section are James Wade, who you have already signalled you were willing to take on. Clemens hasn't pushed on, and Daryl Gurney, I think, is regressing rather than progressing. I'd be disappointed if Danny Noppert didn't make the quarter final from what you see on screen there. Going Price is the most likely to oppose in that game. And Danny Noppert would be off the price. He wouldn't be 5 to 1. He'll be 5 to 2, 11 to floor. Disclaimer: I would be laying off if it does end up Noppert versus Price in that quarter, as I expect, because I do think that Going Price is on a different level, to be fair. But I just think it's a bit of a trading angle. I expect him to get to the quarter, and Going Price might not get to the quarter because Barney could do him again, and I think Ryan Saw is going to have a big tournament as well.
Well, I'm delighted to say I don't need to add anything because Danny Noppert in my selection as well, 5 to 1 for the reasons you outlined there, and I think he can beat Going Price. But yes, I agree with you. I don't think it's any guarantee that Price actually makes it that far early in the tournament. He's going to have a couple of stern tests. The only other one I would say at a big price, possible danger to Noppert, is not one of the seeds. It's that man I mentioned earlier, Alan Suter, very much a man in form. I think he'll beat Malcolm in. I think he'll beat Daryl Gurney. And then if he does meet Noppert in round 3, that could be an examination. And I think there might be a 40 to 1 floating around for Alan Suter. So if you're backing Noppert, maybe just have a couple of quid on Suter in case.
Yeah, all fair enough. Well, that's moving on quickly there from quarter 1 to quarter 2. What did I think here? Similar comments apply to the last. I've made this point on our first video when the draw was made. If you look at the top 4 seeds there, the seeds in the top 4 games there, Michael Smith has got it a lot more difficult than Luke Humphries, in my opinion. I would much rather be drawn alongside Vincent, Dave, and Bunting than I would Heta, Cullen, and Schindler. That's just my opinion. It's been that way since the get-go. I do think Humphries is in. He's 7-2 versus 2-1, call it 13-5. I'm happy to leave both alone, to be honest, but I'm going to be revisiting one of them maybe from an outright point of view a bit later. But 7-2, I do fancy Humphries for the whole lot. I do, but 7-2 skinny enough for me to be leaving alone, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think this quarter's difficult. I agree with you. I agree with your comments on Humphries. I think his 7-2 is more appealing than Michael Smith's price, but it's short enough. I wouldn't want to really be backing anyone at 7-2 or shorter in this quarter because there's a lot of potential there. We touched on AD Lewis's potential second round meeting with Damon Heta. I'm very tempted to play Damo in this quarter market at 11-1 because I think he's got an extremely tough game with Adrian Lewis. However, if he comes through it, there is the chance, we have to factor in, there is the chance that if Damo gets a start in this tournament, he will settle in and he will play the stuff that has got him #1 ranked on the Pro Tour this year, the stuff that has got him beating all of the top 10 players this year. It's just this difficulty on TV. But as we see so often with streaks, we see it with players losing finals. You could go on and on and on, and then you just almost need to fall over the line once and the floodgates open. And I just wonder if he came through a tight tussle with Adrian Lewis, with the crowd all behind Lewis, and managed to get over the line, whether that could just get the ball rolling, because an on-form Damon Heta, for me, can beat anyone in this tournament. He's shown that time and time again. The TV thing is a concern, but let's be honest, it's been more than factored into the price, because if there wasn't a concern about his TV form, he'd be nowhere near 11-1. He'd be 11-4 on the form he's shown on the floor. So I think that's worth chancing at 11-1. I do, and you chance it on the very much on the knowledge that it could fall at the first hurdle. But you don't get anywhere playing skinny prices all the time. So that would be my angle there.
Yeah, I like it, Pyman. Can you remember what price he went off last year for the whole tournament, Heta? Because he's 66-1 this year, as you can see there. I fancy he went off a tad shorter than that last year. Probably
I think he. Do you know what? I think he probably went off about similar because he was in Peter Wright's section, so he drifted. I think the issue with Heta this year was, his price was only going one way at the start of the year, and what he's continued to do on the floor, it should have continued to go that way. But unfortunately for him, there's been a combination of players around him in the market have kicked on, and he's had these TV troubles, and he's just drifted and drifted and drifted. And if you'd have said that he was going to be a 66-1 chance for this tournament, even in like May or June when they were winning the World Cup, it's just, it's testament to how much he has struggled on TV. But these streaks are meant to be broken, and I think at a big price you could chance him.
No, I wouldn't argue with it, Pyman, to be honest. On to the quarter of death. Quarter 3. There's not really a lot more we need to say. You can see it on screen. This is a fantastically deep minefield. Peter Wright, Johnny Clayton, Josh Rock, Dimitri Vandenberg, Nathan Aspinall, all in the same quarter, plus banana skins or players that can play out the skin on any given day. All of them. Kim, Ratajski, Dolan, and Rids. All of them can do it. We've got to take some of them on, but I do think you've got to play in this market, Pyman, and it's a cynical move. When we first did this, when we first looked at the draw, I'd have said, leave this alone. This is quite a cynical move from me. Peter Wright went out of the Grand Slam early, and he didn't compete at all in the Players' Championship finals. That was due to his wife not being very well. We wish her all the best. There's a possibility that situation continues and could and is or will continue to impact on his game. I don't know. I've not had any update, medical or whatever update. It could, but it wasn't great a month ago. The chances are it might not be perfect now. He's 11-4 to win this quarter, and I think you've got to take him on just on the fact that he could have an off day. He can have off days when everything's on Kidori because he's changing his equipment or whatever. That happens less frequently at the big tournaments. I will admit that. but I think you've got to play in that top mini section, and I think there's a couple of mad prices in there.
Oh, I wonder if we've got the same name. I bet we do.
Well,
I've got two names, and I bet they're exactly the same.
Right. Okay. Well, in that top mini section, the next shortest price runner from that top mini section is Dimitri Vandenberg at 6-1. He's the next best seed in that section. I'm happy to take him on as well. He's bang out of form. He can turn it on the big stage, but he's done virtually nothing this year. Really quite disappointing. So at small stakes, I'm playing Keane Barry at 50-1. So I've got to scroll to get to him, and I'm almost certain.
Robbie John.
Yeah, Robbie John, Pieman, one of Pieman's favourites at 66. And this is quite simple, really. I think they'll both win the first round game. Keane Barry playing Grant Sampson, who I could find absolutely nothing about online. His player profile, I couldn't even get a picture of him.
A mention for Grant, 40-year-old trucker who beat Devon Peterson to win the South African qualifier. But yeah, I only know that because I watched an interview with him, because I also knew nothing about him. And seems like a nice bloke, but yeah, very difficult to find any data. So Keane Barry has to be, presumed winner there.
Right, so Keane Barry will beat Grant Sampson, and then I think I would half expect Keane Barry to beat Kim Ibrex. Then next thing you know, we've got a 50-1 runner in round 3. That's kind of the way I'm thinking there. Similar comments apply to Robbie John. Lawrence Logan is a more difficult task than Grant Sampson, and Dimitri Vandenberg is a more difficult task than fellow Belgian Kim Ibrex. But you get compensated in the price a little bit. He's 66-1. It's as simple as that. I think, I would be surprised. I would actually go as far to say I'd be surprised if one of them was not in the third round, at least one of them, and the 50 and 66-1. That's what I'm playing.
I can't believe it. Whether people will believe it or not, but we've genuinely not consulted on that at all.
I'll tell the viewers I've not spoke to Pieman for a week. For one reason or another. We won't go into it. But
I've got very short notes here. Quarter 3, K Barry 50. RJ Rodriguez 66 is just absolutely bizarre. But maybe we've just talked to each other so much about darts that we know our preferred angles now. Yeah, I'm more than happy to take on Wright and Dimitri at the top of this quarter. If we talk about that 5 of Wright, Dimitri, Clayton, Aspinall, Rock, the 2 that I would want to take on the most are Wright for the reasons you mentioned and Dimitri for the reasons you mentioned. And they're in the same half. The other 3 are in the bottom. Now, I've got no intention of going anywhere near that bottom bit. No. It's absolutely vile. And like you say, Clayton, Aspinall, Rock, all well fancied to go there. Callum Ridds, a quarter finalist last year, nearly beat Peter Wright to get into the semi-final when we were on him at 500. So he's very, very capable. Lots of other danger men in that bottom bit. Dolan, Jamie Hughes, Boris Kirchmer, not going anywhere near that. Ratajski out of form, Wright out of form, Dimitri out of form, Kim Ibrex I can take on. Keane Barry was fantastic here last year. How he lost to Johnny Clayton. Johnny Clayton was in the form of his life, as we know. Johnny Clayton had to pull it out of the fire against Keane Barry. Keane Barry was pasted in with 180s. It was one of the most underrated games of that tournament. I loved it. He's had another really good year. He's just developing at a really nice rate, under the radar, making last 16s of Pro Tours, doing really well on the Dev Tour. He's so dangerous. And Robbie John, as you've said, one of my favourites. I think he can beat Ilagan. I've taken him on. I'm looking forward to backing him against Dimitri if he gets through. Yeah, let's just see how it pans out. Hopefully we have Keane Barry versus Robbie John in round 4.
Yeah, I mean, what more can you say? Like as Pieman says, I'm leaving the bottom half alone. I mean, that is a massive minefield. Really. I mean, take Ridds out of it, but Clayton, Aspinall, and Josh Rock, just sit back and enjoy that. Right, on to quarter 4. We've got there's one headline acting here, obviously. Michael Van
Gary Anderson.
Yeah, Gary Anderson. I mean, this is we talk about the quarter 3. I mean, there's some bloody names in here. We've got MVG, Dirk, Ross Smith in the top half of this quarter alone. Yeah, and then Mentor's the other runner in that little section. Difficult, but I do think there is a standout price in this market, Pieman.
Is it 15-2?
No.
Okay.
No. It's you'll get it with a second guess. It's 14-1. Ross Smith. It's just too big. He's in the form of his life.
Yes.
He can beat Dirk on his day. He can lose to Dirk on his day. He can definitely beat Dirk on his day. I think Dirk's having a great time of it as well. Hence why you guessed I was going in that direction. And Ross Smith can beat MVG if he's not quite on it. And I know it's all well and good saying, oh, well, they could have an off day. But MVG, the stellar, even though the stellar year he has had, he can have an off day. Look at last month's Grand Slam quarter final against Luke Humphries. Van Gerwen never looked like winning that game, to be quite honest. And Ross Smith is of that standard where he could do it. I just think, like I say, he's in the form of his life. He is going to have to come past Dirk, but that's why you get him 14-1, and then and then on to Van Gerwen. And I'll get it out there early, Pie Man. I'm backing Ross Smith outright as well.
Absolutely fine by me. You won't get too many arguments. I would actually, I think this. I think you absolutely must have a bet in this quarter. MVG is propping this market up at evens. Now, he's a very worthy favourite for this world title, but just for what you've just said there, he's got a, it's far from a straightforward quarter. It's not the usual waltz to the quarters that we see MVG have. The fact that whoever he plays out of Dirk and Ross Smith is going to give him a hell of a game. And even before then, very good chance he bumps into Mike De Decker, who, as we discussed, who I think would give him all kinds of trouble. I don't think the winner of Louis Williams versus Niels Zonneveld is a bye, which we have seen Van Gerwen get some years. He's played like an absolute no-hoper. So I think you take him on at even money. I can see the interest in Rob Cross in the bottom section because he's in good form. If he plays anything like he did, then fair enough. But Dirk would be the angle for me. I totally get Ross Smith. He's twice the price. I've just got a feeling that Dirk might meet MVG in round 4 and maybe beat him. I don't know what I'm hanging out on. There's been some comments from Van Gerwen about it. Dirk's good, but he's not as good as me. He's not up to my level. He's going to struggle to get up to my level. I think that if there's one man you don't want to rile up, it's Van Duijvenbode, because I know what Van Gerwen's trying to do. He's trying to make it mind games, and Van Duijvenbode's temperament is questionable. But when he's fired up, he's potentially brilliant, isn't he? We've seen it several times this year. So that would be my angle of Dirk. 2 are absolutely huge prices that I'm just going to give a nod to.
I'll scroll.
Well, yeah, Real Deal Dzeka gets a mention. It's fanciful at 100, but for £2 it might be one that you get a bit of fun out of. As I say, meets MVG if he gets to round 3, and I think that would be fun to watch. And Scott Williams, 80-1. He's done us a great service, stellar service on the Pro Tour this year, and he's in that bottom section. I've seen stronger sections. Do you know what I mean? Rob Cross, fantastic form. But if you're gonna play Rob Cross, play him over a short format. Scott Williams looked really dangerous in the Grand Slam in a horrendous group, by the way, with Josh Rock, Luke Humphries, Ryan Searle. He looked really, really dangerous. I mean, at one point he needed to win 2 legs to get through that group. So he's got a bit of TV experience. He's not short of confidence, Scott Williams. I think odds against Ryan Joyce is interesting, but I'm just going to have a watching brief on that one. Hope he gets through, and if he does, I'll be backing him at a big price to beat Rob Cross just because of the short format. And there's nothing much else to fear in that quarter, isn't there? Apart from the great Gary Anderson, obviously, who we're going to overlook, and then he'll just make another semi-final. But yeah, it's an interesting quarter, and MVG propping it up just makes me want to play.
Yeah, agree. Just with Scott Williams, he was erratic as hell in his first 2 Grand Slam games. He was all over the place, literally. But then in the third game, where his back was against the wall, he was a massive outsider to qualify. He averaged 107. So you're playing it exactly the right way, because Ryan Joyce isn't an easy first round draw. But if he settles himself in there, goes home for Christmas, comes back, and he could, like you say, he's got as good a chance as any.
He's one for me, Scott Williams, where I like backing him when he's an underdog, but I don't like backing him when he's a favourite, if that makes sense. There are some players that I just think sometimes just need a bit of a free hit, and he's got one against Rob Cross if he gets there.
And just on Dirk, I love him. I mention him all the time that he'll win a big one. I just think the Worlds is the wrong tournament for him.
Yeah, might well be.
I just think it's too long in terms of time going over for Christmas. It's over 2.5 weeks, and I think the games are too long as well, because he's a man that can do what's the opposite of a purple patch. He can have 10 or 15 minutes where he's absolutely heads up his backside, like at the Players' Championship, where I think it was against Cullen, and he just did not get in the game at all. I think that that's the there's chance for that to happen. So yeah, that's quarter 4 covered. bleeding hell, we've got selections as low as 5-1 and as big as 100-1 in the quarter betting for you there. I don't think you're going to get that anywhere else on YouTube. Any specials to call out, Pie Man? It's not normally one for me, so it's over to you.
I need to have a good troll through the specials, but I wanted to dig one out for the video, and I have found it. Now, if you're someone who is a casual darts fan and you just want to get behind Van Gerwen, can I please put you off playing him in the outright market, because he's plenty short now. I found a really nice price, 9-4 for a Dutch winner. It's a much better way of playing it because, as I mentioned there in quarter 4, Dirk van Dijvenbode is a threat to Van Gerwen in that quarter, one of his chief threats. So by backing this 9-4, you get Van Gerwen on your side, you also get Van Dijvenbode on your side, and you get one of my outright fancies, Danny Noppert, on your side. So I think a 9-4 about a Dutch winner is a much better way than backing Van Gerwen in the single market. You know, you give yourself a little bit of cover there, and I think it's genuine cover with Dirk and Noppert. Whether they can actually go and win it, I don't know, but they could certainly go very, very deep. And I think, you know, if you are into playing your short price in the outright, that's far better than backing just Van Gerwen. And just a quick nod to that market, for anyone who's a fan of Gezi Price and Johnny Clayton, you can get 9-2 about a Welsh winner. I mean, that's got to give you a run for your money, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a fair shout, Pie Man. It's not really one I've paid attention to be honest, but yeah, but I think that's a fair enough market all round there, to be honest. There is a market up. I've certainly not got a selection in it because I think the percentages are against the punter, but it's worth flagging this little market here. Not all priced up, unfortunately, but an individual player to score a 9-darter. As you can see, there's only one supplier with it up there, so fair play to them.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah, and you know, there's quite a few listed there, although not all. I mean, you know who I was looking for in this market, Pie Man. He's a little German playing Jeff Smith in the opening round. I thought we might be able to back Mike Dedecker at like 100-1 in this market or something silly like that, but yeah.
But it's interesting. Fair play. I mean, they're not. Maybe not value, but I like the creativity that goes into the market. And my main plea to anyone watching would be, if we can have more markets throughout the year like this, I'd be absolutely delighted. You know, I'm sure no one else gives a shit, but I'd be thrilled.
Right, on to the final section, Prime Man. Outright. I'll start. I'm not backing him, and I'm not telling viewers to back him, but I actually think Gerwyn Price is too big at 6-1. I think that's a too big a price. I'd have him more like 9-2. Now, people might think, 6-1, 9-2, it's not all a bit of a muchness. You might think that, but I do think he's slightly too big, Gerwyn Price. I think his quarter is pretty straightforward, and he has got the X factor. There's only him and Van Gerwen got it, in my opinion. I think this year, definitely more than last year. We came into this tournament last year saying there was a big 4, and it included Peter Wright and Johnny Clayton. I don't believe that's the case this year, to be honest. I think it's a big 2, and they've got the X factor, and there is a gap between them and the rest of the pack, in my opinion. And he can just dig deep when it matters, Van Gerwen and Price. I just do think that they're the clear 2 best players in the world, and I think 6-1's slightly too big. Have you got any comments on the top of the market, Pie Man? I know you won't be playing there, but you know, just as the prices you can see there.
I won't be playing there. I agree. I'd rather have Price at 6 than Van Gerwen at 5-2. Michael Smith, plenty short enough. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go and win his first world title, but I wouldn't be backing him at single figures, given what we know he does have in the locker. I guess that people are chancing on, you know, the floodgates opening now. Peter Wright, some people will be amazed to see the defending champ double figures, but we've talked about his circumstances away from it. And I do think Wright is a player that off the hockey stuff can affect him more than an average player, just because of where he's at in his life. You know, he's in the later stage of his career, his family first. And you know, if he's not feeling it, he's not feeling it. He's won the world championship multiple times now. He won't really beat himself up that much if he goes out early. You know, if he's got other stuff going on. Not to say he can't win it, of course, or any of these guys at the top can win it. Josh Rock is plenty short. He's plenty short. I couldn't be having him. I couldn't be encouraging anyone to back him at 16. I have backed him at a significantly bigger price. But if you're asking me right now, do you back him at 16? He's in that horrendous quarter. Nobody wants to see Josh Rock win this tournament more than me, I assure you. But I couldn't be having him. Luke Humphries, I think you've alluded to him. or you're about to allude to him potentially. I think he probably is the one. If I was picking one of them at the top on the form and just factoring the whole package in, I think he might be the one I would land on. I don't know about yourself at the top.
Yeah, I'll talk about him while we're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you was to approach me in the office tomorrow or in the wherever I am and say, right, who's your bet? Luke Humphries is the bet. He's 14 to 1. It's the best value I can find. He's got a straightforward looking route, in my opinion, in that bottom half there, as you can see. He could beat Michael Smith in the quarterfinal. That's a game that could go either way. And then from there, anything can happen. Yeah, I just think he's the best play. In my opinion, he's made the quarterfinal at Ali Pali 3 of the last 4 years. He's still only a young man. He is improving, and yeah, I mean, I would much rather back him than Peter Wright, Michael Smith, Josh Rock, Johnny Clayton, definitely Dimitri. You know, all them, basically everyone on that screen you can see there. Luke Humphries is standout of those ones. If you ask me, he's beat Van Gerwen on the big stage plenty enough times. As recently as last month at the Grand Slam. Similar comments don't apply to Gerwin Price as yet in terms of Humphries beating him, but if you can beat MVG on the stage, you can beat Gerwin Price on the stage.
Yeah, I'll just finish then with away from the top bits. Anyone that has watched this channel knows that this is more my area of the market. I still think there's some, for people who are looking for a bit of fun, I think there's some players with win equity, albeit small win equity, below that 33 to 1 bracket. I mentioned Danny Noppert, 40 to 1. I think he's got a nice draw. I do. We've both said we'd be surprised if he's not in the quarterfinals. Now, if you're talking about someone getting into the last 8 at a 40 to 1 runner, you've got to back that. You've got to back that because you could be laying him off probably around 10s if he makes the quarterfinals. If that's your kind of game, or you could just let it run and see if you can get close to the cash. Danny's a very capable player, major winner. He's got better and better and better this year, so he would be one for me.
I like Noppert Pie, man, and I put him up for the Players' Championship, right? Yeah. And I put him up for the quarter from a trading angle, and I know you would take a different view to me on that. You'll just back him and hope that he wins, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And I don't think Danny Noppert can win the tournament.
No, that's fine.
I think you've got to rely on more than one player, multiple players having off days against him to win. If you play under your game, Danny Noppert will beat you. But if Gerwin Price is on his game, if Gerwin Price, there's a handful, not just the two. There's a handful that I would include. Humphries, Dirk. There's Clayton. There's a few. If they play their best, they'll beat Danny Noppert's best that we've seen so far. I just don't think he can win the tournament, to be honest, and that's where I stand on him.
You may well be right. Well, here's someone else that you don't think can win the tournament. Dave Chisnell, 66 to 1. At times, Chizzy has played some of the best stuff we've seen in years this season. He's just dipped off a little bit, but the Ali Pali stage does seem to bring very good stuff out of Chizzy till it gets to the latter stages. Of course,
you might get a yellow card for putting up 66 to 1 because it is with these fellas here.
Okay. Well,
so
I would like
I'll give
to
you
think 40. I would like to think the good people watching doubles and trebles can get on with said supplier. But
they are standout just for those who aren't looking at the screen. There's a standout supplier towards the right hand side of it.
Well, look, 40s is far less attractive than 66, of course.
I'll put it in the description, Pi, man. If it's not your fault if you can get on with them and others can't, it's not your fault.
Look, yeah, it's nothing to do with me. I mean, if you're betting irresponsibly, then that's not my fault. Look in the mirror. Yeah, I think 66 about Chiz is very interesting. 40s less so. So fair enough for pointing it out. Slap on the wrist from me there. And obviously everybody wants a big price winner. Mike De Decker, we've mentioned him about 50 times this video. Why not back him at 1,000 to 1 to win the tournament? Yeah, he can't win the tournament, but it's 1,000 to 1. I mean, he's there with Lisa Ashton at 1,000 to 1. I know who I'd rather have.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't actually know that he was 1,000 to 1, Pi.
He's 1,000 to 1. The good people at Sky Bet.
Well, we can assume that he is the same price on the exchange. So it's one of them where you could back him and lay him off because we think he's going to do pretty well against Jeff Smith and Mensur Suljovic.
Well, imagine if he beat Van Gerwen in round 3, what a collapse in the price there would be. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but, I'm setting this guy up for a fall here. Mike, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
Right, so again, you're not going to find anyone previewing the World Championship putting up 1,000-to-1 shots. My biggest price, Pie Man, is genuinely 66-to-1. Ross Smith, for reasons
Fair
given
enough.
earlier, I'm backing him to win his quarter. He has got a tough draw. There's no getting away from that. But most draws in this tournament really are. I mean, the depth and quality, as I've gone through these previews, it's crazy, really. But he's in the form of his life. And I think he's a player that's getting better and better. He has not got the Ali Pali form that I mention every year that I always look for and think that people think that you should have in order to go close or go on to win it in future years. He's not got that yet, but hopefully he can prove it. He's a European champion. 66-to-1. He's my one at bigger prices.
And I'll just leave you with a nice little anecdote there on that note. Then, so when I last spoke to Damon on this channel, it was just prior to the World Cup, and I said that I firmly believed that he could go and win the World Cup, and him and Simon Whitlock duly did so. In this summer, I was talking to Josh Rock's possibly former management company, or maybe current. I heard Wayne Mardle saying that he'd had an issue with his management company, which would maybe explain this. And I had Josh queued up to come on the channel for a chat prior to his first Pro Tour win. And of course, the week that I was setting the date, he won his first Pro Tour and he's blown up, and I've not heard back regarding talking to Josh. And then Ross Smith, I approached Ross Smith for a chat the week before he won the European Championship. And I was told that he would come on after the European Championship, which he went on to win. So basically, every time I approach a player for an interview, they win something massive. So if there's any player that just wants to give themselves a little bit of a sniff before Ali Pali, just drop me a line.
Yeah, if Pie Man's sliding into your DMs, just ignore him, but know that you can sleep tight.
It's a good
knowing
sign.
That the
It's a
next
really
big
good
tournament,
sign. Yeah.
The next big tournament, you go
It's a
on
really
and
good
win
sign.
or play
And on
well.
that note, I'm just going to give Mike De Decker a quick DM.
Yeah. Mike Decker at 1,000. But yeah, I mean, everything covered there. Really good in detail stuff. Plenty of bets to be had. That's what you're here for at Doubles and Trebles. We're still committed. We only have got 4 days, Pie Man. The pressure is on you more than me at the moment to deliver 96 preview videos. They're only about between a minute and 2 minutes long. Some are shorter on the likes of Zi Cheng Han, who I didn't know a lot about. But yeah, we are previewing every player. So you can get our playlist on, you can take the dog for a walk, or you can go to the gym and listen to what we've got to say about every single player in the World Championship. So thanks for tuning in. It's been another long video here tonight. All the bets will be in the description. Follow us on Twitter as well for some round 2 bets and beyond. What's your final words, Pie Man?
Thanks to anyone that's made it this far into the video, and I hope it's going to be another fantastic World Championship. I'm sure it is. Plenty of content to come during the tournament, so make sure you subscribe if you're not already, and we'll see you again very, very soon.
Thank you very much.